Stuff on the agenda, first and foremost. Thanks to Teton Arms. Appreciate the holsters. You guys hooked me up. I'll drop a video on the one a little bit later for you guys. As far as the Olympics goes, been some interesting stuff. We spoke a little bit about it last week. Of course, the dude with the air gun from Turkey and the gal that won two bronze medals from India. Both pretty cool. Wish they were from the United States, and I wish we got those medals. But hey, it is what it is, right? Um, let's see here. What else on the agendas? We've got YouTube firearm policy. So I had the AR-15 drilling your barrel, putting your A2 sights on the front, iron sight. YouTube had me take those down on account of it violates the policy of modifying manufacturing or something like that. But hey, we gave it a shot, right? Um, let's see what else is going on here these days. Gunfather wrapping up the Kimber one. That one had to do some deep digging, as Kimber's company originally popular in the United States. It was Sportco in Australia, and then once they got bought out by Omark, that's a company out in Oregon. He had immigrated to the United States. Him and his son started Kimber Manufacturing. Eventually, he would actually sell it off. They'd still keep the name Kimber. However, it would move over to Yonkers, New York, and they'd start manufacturing pistols, mostly the 1911s, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. We've got the what else going on here? Other than that, as far as firearms go, anything with the AR-15 stuff, modifications and whatnot, I'll post those over on Rumble. I haven't put anything on Patreon for a while, just because I don't know, charging you guys for this stuff doesn't seem right. It doesn't sit okay with me. I mean, I enjoy doing it. Putting out the youth safety stuff, the youth video. We got updates in that. I had to use old footage for a few things here and there, but that one seems to be doing well. Thanks to everybody that's sharing that, watching that, or whatnot. Of course, it is guidelines. It is not like a handbook for people to go based off of the correct way 100% to be with your kids around firearms. But the two most important, really, really stress with parents on that stuff is your firearms not being accessible. It's, I hear a lot of people, and, things were different when I was young as well. They always say, oh, I can leave my guns laying out and my kids wouldn't touch them. Well, it might not be your kids, though. Maybe your kids have a friend over or something along that line. That type of negligence, it could cost lives. We've got, too many school shooting tragedies, which may have been prevented. But that's a debate. There's lots of debates on that stuff. That's just my opinion. Facts-wise, though, my kids, even though they have guns that are theirs, they're locked up. They're secured and stored. Um, let's see. I mean, as far as that goes, looking at the assassination attempt facts and footage, I did a little bit of a deep dive into that. You've got 3 shots. The very first shot is always going to be your most important shot, because that's the one most likely you're going to hit whatever you're aiming at. This kid at 125 yards to 149 with a red dot scope. He's got about a 4-inch margin on that, and the wind speed, if I recall, was about 12 miles an hour, so it's pretty light. 5.56 rounds not practical at that distance. However, I mean, it can still be effective, but it's not going to be as practical. The optic he had isn't practical at that distance. As for, that's more of a closer combat situation if you're in a red dot sight. Now, my belief, there's 5 shots that go off very fast, right after the initial 3, and then there's the final shot, and you hear a follow-through shot. Those were somebody else's gun shooting him. Sound, when it comes to firearms, it can sound completely different depending where you're at. You also have to remember bullets. The reason a gun is so loud when you shoot it, most of them, 45 calibers, they don't go supersonic or whatever and break the sound barrier when they shoot. But you hear that cracking noise or just a loud bang, whatever. You've got bullets going faster than that speed, so they're going to hit something from a distance before the sound reaches the people wherever the target was at. You have to take that into consideration. So, with a lot of you conspiracy nuts out there, factor that point in. There's some other guys out there that have done some pretty comprehensive armchair from that safety of their home detective work on that whole ordeal. I thought it would be interesting. I do like a lot of the outlaws from the Wild West, or like John Dillinger. Kind of their guns, stuff like that, historically. And then we've got the Gunfather series, where I take firearm manufacturers or designers and developers. Do a few episodes or drop a bunch of shorts and then drop the episode at the end like normal. Wouldn't it be interesting though? Look at assassination attempts on famous individuals. Like for instance, we all know JFK. We all know Martin Luther King. The one that gets me, that gets overlooked quite a bit. We have Ronald Reagan with the whole Brady laws and everything like that happening afterwards, but Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, a guy shot him. Luckily, he had some stuff like medals and some other stuff in his shirt or whatever. He continued giving his speech after he got shot, and then he went and got medical treatment afterwards. I mean, Teddy Roosevelt, man, him and the Rough Riders, dude, he was just nuts. He's a savage. But that's a pretty interesting one to me. Had no idea, really. To be honest with you, with American president history, I couldn't tell you very much about Teddy Roosevelt, except he liked the great outdoors. He was a cavalry guy, and that's about it. So, my knowledge on that might actually do me some good to do some researching on that information. So, there's that. What else here? I did have a video, with the ballistic gel, where you guys have all seen that, the how to make your homemade ballistic gel and all that stuff that I put out. I was watching TV and that Lizzo singer came on. Oh my gosh, man, just disgusting. And all I could think about was that ballistic gel the entire time, just shaken and rippled and gross. So I decided I'm going to start calling ballistic gel Lizzo. But other than that, fellas, guys, that's check-in for projects. I'm going to go hit the range today. Busted out the Kimber. Bust out the Glock. Do a little bit of demonstration with the new holsters. Teton Arms hooking me up. You also got Lynn's Dakota Mart hooking up the ammunition. Got to thank those guys. All that MagTech range ammo. It's awesome. Pretty much appreciated, guys, because ammo is not cheap. So, with that being said, we've got clay pigeon. What is it here? There's some new clay pigeon throwers coming out. Hopefully nab one and check them out. They're a hell of a lot of fun. What's cool now is all the new ones, they have batteries that you can charge up and you can take out, out in the middle of nowhere and go shoot clays or whatnot. You don't have to have it plugged in. You don't have to continuously reload. I think there's a new one out there, new model coming out that by AR5 that shoots out. You can do like all sorts of different directions and angles or whatnot shooting, which is pretty dope. But then they've got the voice recognition one where you can just yell pull. If you guys have seen some of my videos, when I'm out shooting sporting clays and stuff like that, practicing, it's usually what we got going, that or some of the older footage. Of course, my daughter likes to push the button whenever we go shoot clay pigeons, but that's what it is. So, all right, guys. Well, Single Shot Sunday, that's the projects. If there's any type of gun, if there's a gun manufacturer, a gun specific that you guys would like to hear about, go ahead and leave that in the comment section. If you have any questions, I might not know all the answers, but I'll definitely try to help find them if I do regarding firearms. When it comes to recommendations, I'll tell one thing. This is kind of something for a lot of the guys that are new shooting out there. Whenever anybody asks me, oh, is a Glock 19 a good gun to start out with shooting? Yes and no. I mean, I thought it was a decent one. I mean, it wasn't the first gun I shot pistol-wise, but it's a all-around meat and potatoes type pistol. It's gonna be reliable. It's a 9mm, so the ammo is fairly easy to get. It's cheaper. Law enforcement uses it, so it's a decent firearm. They can take a beat down, but I'm not gonna lie, it's not my favorite, but it's a good one to start with. But for the most part, it's going to vary on the individual. I mean, for me, if somebody says, oh, what do you like to carry? Everybody knows I like to carry high powers. I like FN. I like metal guns. I like the old school, old fashioned. It's just kind of how I am. But that's kind of the way to go on that. And also, it depends on what you're looking to get into. If you want something just for like around the house, home defense, or if you like to go plinking and shoot targets, get a 22. I love 22s. I'll tell you what, you save a lot of money on them, and when you got 3 kids and you're shooting 22, it saves a lot of money. I'm almost thinking of downgrading them to BB guns, man. Those are even cheaper. But 22s are just fun to go plinking with. You can buy all the gear in the world. I'll tell you what, the only things that you need to buy for a 22 or a pellet gun for a target is you just get some empty cans and go out like all of us other country kids did. But that's kind of the way to do it. Just set them up, shoot them. Set them up, shoot them. But I think you can go to Walmart. They've got some pretty decent, cheap little metal spinner targets and things like that that are reusable for rimfire, for pellet guns. Yeah, I'd say roughly like 20 to 60 bucks. But I see some of these guys. I go to Cabela's or I go to Shields. Like yesterday, my wife and I headed out to Rapid City, dropped in the Cabela's. I have to go to Cabela's. It's the Holy Trinity. It's part of it. And I see these salesmen just trying to take advantage of these people that are getting into firearms but don't know a whole lot about them. And I'm like, dude, they don't need all that crap for that gun. I mean, it's like this guy's trying to get a 10-22, a Ruger 10-22, best 22 rifle there is. I mean, no other one can even come close to how great of a gun that is, and that thing's been like around for almost 75 years. But he's like, you got to get this laser sight and this scope, and you need to buy this chassis and this stock. And I was like, can I? Sorry, I just overheard you guys talking. You mind if I inject myself in your conversation here? I don't mean to be rude. And they're like, yeah, sure. I was like, dude, you can just buy the 10-22, use the iron sights on that bad boy, and go out and shoot with it. And then if you want to buy all that other crap, then go buy it. But man, you don't need all that junk for that 10-22. That thing's gonna operate and work like nobody's business. I mean, I've got one, my 10-22, I've shot. Oh gosh, I couldn't even tell you. That thing's 2009. I know it's old. It was manufactured before then because it was older. I mean, my 10-22 just has a bull barrel on it. It's got a little tripod on the front. It's a lot. If you see my daughter's like little 22 that you guys watch when I take her out, mine's pretty much close to that, except mine's got a bull barrel, and then mine's got a bigger scope on it or whatnot, and that's because who I got it from wanted to make it all look snipery or whatever. The dude owed me some money, and I was like, oh, I'll take your 22, but that's another story for another time. But yeah, you don't need all that crap. It's like with the pistols and everything like that. Those red dots and everything, they're way cool. Also, at the same time, though, then you also have to remember, well, batteries die. I don't like those red dots because if I shoot concealed carry, that's just more crap that's going to be possibly getting caught or in the way. But I just like, I don't know, my firearms, I like to just keep them basic, almost factory. That's just kind of how I am, kind of boring. I mean, you guys have all seen my um, the ARs that I use most of the time. I just use the basic with a carry handle, M4 Colt. I mean, that's just, I don't know, plain and boring and simple. Now, don't get me wrong. I think all the cool upgrades and all that shit that you guys buy, like Magpul and everything along that line, freaking awesome. They're cool looking. Um, I don't know how effective differently some of it is, but you know, when I get on here on YouTube and I go through my like little shorts feed, I try really hard not to laugh. There's a couple people on there, and I showed some restraint lately. In the past, I've talked some mad shit on some people because I think it's ridiculous, and it still is. But you know, I'm trying to mature, trying to be nicer and give them the benefit of the doubt. But there's a dude named Civilian Tactical on here. I can't stand that guy. He I, one thing. So for context here, when you buy military surplus, you can go buy big old ammo cans. It's green ball ammo, basically for your AR-15s, your 5.56, 223. It's going to have a green tip on it, and a lot of times you'll open up the ammo box if you buy it because you get them in bulk. And they've got stripper clips on them. Well, 5.56, 223. Most people that have AR-15s, obviously, they don't take stripper clips, and so you have to either individually push them out, or if you know how to use a spoon, which is an item that just pushes them all in, you can load them right into your mag off of it if you know what you're doing. This kid's like telling people all sorts of crazy shit, and then come to think about it, he's just selling gear. This dude has no clue, you know, no real shooting training. It's just I call it the John Wick, Deadpool, Fortnite, Command and Conquer. What's the other game? Call of Duty. Those dudes, they get into guns. They get a huge following on YouTube because they have a lot of people that were already on their channels for video games or whatever the case may be. And then all these people who play video games are like checking out the channels, and I look at the comments sometimes, and it's like, oh man, do a reload like Deadpool does, and things like that. And I just think, out of your fucking mind, people. That's a movie. That's a comic book. You would actually, let's see, you're pointing the gun at yourself doing that. You're pointing the gun at other people when you're doing that, loaded or not. I mean, if there's one good lesson anybody can learn lately from Hollywood, and that is Alec Baldwin, is treat a firearm like it's loaded. I mean, that whole debacle, we've already gone over that one. But anyways, these dudes, you know, that's kind of what they do. They hype it up. Well, unfortunately, children subscribe to these dudes and think these dudes are cool as hell when they're just stupid as hell. I mean, one thing, take a look at how often do some of these guys that are selling this gear like Johnny Q or this Civilian Tactical kid, how often do you see them actually shooting and hitting targets or teaching anything that's like not trying to sell gear? And the fun part about that, YouTube with their new updated policies, you can get your if you're monetized, they'll demonetize your videos if you're putting advertisements or doing shout outs for things or whatnot. I'm not monetized, so I can say whatever the hell I want, but you know, it's I wish there was a way for like a bullshit button people could push. You know, it would be great. Or just these dudes are trying to sell gear, they're making money, but they're not giving the best advice, guys. But they're selling gear and making money. I mean, power to them, even if they're tool bags. But that Civilian Tactical kid, I'll have to find the clip and I'll post something on my community later. Even though I hate giving the kid traffic, there's a thing called the California key on the top of your AR. And I can't show it on a live stream, so I'll have to explain it this way, and then I can maybe post something later. When you're pulling your charging handle back, This thing turns your AR into a single shot. You have to pull it back every single time, almost like a bolt action rifle. The thing with AR-15s, and anybody that's ever shot one is going to know this, when you're pulling that thing back constantly like this, your sight's going to be off. It's not like a bolt action rifle where you have a fluid motion or whatnot. But this kid's like, oh, you can single shot. You can also use suppressors. Your gun will be more quiet, and you're in compliance. Okay, so give yourself a disadvantage. You're in compliance. You're going to be, and compliance is the biggest load of bullshit I'll ever say. Anybody in California, I'm sorry, man. I don't know how you guys can live there. There's cool people there and whatnot, but man, I mean, you're going to single bolt an AR. You're going to have criminals shooting semi-automatics or fully automatics with their Glock switches and all that bullshit. And you're going to sit there and be one repeat. I mean, it's not practical, you know. And then I just thought, well, these kids have never been in gunfights. They've never been, you know, no real training in the military, and they play video games. So, anywho, that's Single Shot Sunday, folks. We'll get more coming up for you. Shout out to Sonny Money, constantly pushing my channel. Much appreciated. Well, thanks to all you guys watching, subscribing, hating, liking. I don't get hate comments as much anymore. It's really weird. Actually, it's very strange. But anyways, you guys be safe and have a good one.